Hello, everybody. This is Frank with Iron Age News. It is Friday, August 8th, around 11 a.m. on the East Coast. And this is more of a class-centric podcast for those of you who are among the working class in the United States, the blue collars, the skilled labor, things of that nature, union men, if there are such things anymore. I know they don't have them down here, but that's for other reasons. And those of you who would like to be blue collar workers, or even better, those of you who refuse to be blue collar workers because you will get welfare for the rest of your life as far as you're concerned. So, we're just going to talk about what's really going on in the United States at this moment. We've done videos about it before when it first came out, but I don't think everybody's listening, and you see it already occurring in the stock markets and slowly in the background because the news does not cover this. So I'm going to talk directly to the men and women who work with your hands, your backs, your brains to keep this country running, or those who are ready to step up and join those ranks. Okay. For over 50 years, America has been running a quiet experiment called the welfare state. It was sold as compassion under Lyndon Baines Johnson, and it's created dependency. It's killed opportunity. It turned once great cities into shadows of their former selves, economic wastelands, as you've seen on every video for the last 6 years or more. Okay. The truth is, this system is breaking. It's coming to an end, and it's coming a lot sooner than people think. Okay. The good news is the philosophy behind the Maga movement, and this is not the Republican Party. This is Donald Trump's philosophy for when he came into office. I know half of you already shut off when I said Donald Trump, but the fact is, you should have read what it is the man was trying to do. And the movement isn't just about politics, okay? And in fact, that's the smaller part. The reason you see the politics of today as it is because we are fighting a counterinsurgency against an entrenched socialist operation within our bureaucracy. And you're starting to see the indictments come down now, right? And the thing with Obama and the spying and all the things that are coming to a head and will come to a head over the next year will be to show you what it is that you, if you're under a certain age, have missed and been deprived of by the uniparty types. Okay. And it's like I said, both sides can take some blame here, one side more than the other, but then people like Mitch McConnell and the usual suspects, they are filth as well. Okay. So, Thune, we're just going to skip to that part, but let's talk about what we're saying here with this MAGA movement. It is a plan to rebuild America's industries, to bring back manufacturing, to bring back shipbuilding. You say, why? Look up how many people are employed in shipbuilding. If he thought that building railroads again was more viable, look up how many people in the United States were employed in the construction of, manufacturing for, or maintenance of the railway system. It was immense. It was like 1 in every 12 people worked for a railroad industry. That has not been said of the auto industry in quite some time. So when people are pushing auto, take a break from that. All right. Look at these other things that we're talking about. There are going to be energy jobs. There's infrastructure that has to be done. Because for us to be involved in manufacturing, we have to have facilities to manufacture. We have to have equipment to manufacture with. Okay. So this is more opportunity for blue collar work than we have seen in decades. But here's the warning to this. The days of living on the government dime without putting in the work are numbered. If you are able-bodied, let's start right this. I'm not saying those people who are on disability or this or that and the other thing. If you are able-bodied, there's going to be an expectation that you will work, you will train, and you will produce. Not in that order, but somewhere along there. And that's not a punishment. That is freedom. Imagine earning enough to own a house, provide for your family, and stand tall knowing you built your life with your own effort. That's what this movement's about. But you've got to be ready. Whether that's learning a trade, showing up on time, or simply getting back in the habit of work. This goes back for me to COVID, okay? When COVID hit and they were threatening us with all these draconian this, that, and the other things, you had to say to yourself, this is prison. These people are basically imprisoning the world, but the United States is now under a lockdown. How will I do my time? Will I make my time work for me? Okay. And if you made the time work for you, you came out of this, if not financially better, at least mentally better than some of these people you see that are howling at the moon and shit like this in these protests, right? A lot of people made a lot of commitments to themselves and made a lot of commitments to their family. Some families got a lot stronger. Some families didn't. You see this thing as part of a resiliency test, which is what they ran on in the United States, basically, to see if we would crack completely, and we did not crack completely. So that's what this movement is about, okay? You've got to be ready, and whether it's learning a trade, like I said, showing up on time, or simply getting into the habit of work. So if you're already in the trades, keep sharpening your skills. Your work is going to be in demand. If you're not in a trade and you want to be, now's the time to learn. Welding, electrical training, carpentry, mechanics, plumbing, all those things, right? They aren't just jobs. They're careers that make you valuable. If you notice, I didn't put down labor. Everybody kind of starts as a laborer in the trade. You step and fetch it for everybody else. That's the world of the apprentice, okay? There are construction laborers. We're not going to get in the weeds over this. This is the area where they would tell you, oh, well, we got the illegals in there for that. Wrong. Look at any state that has a laborers union and ask them if they would all like to be replaced by Mexicans or some other country, because this is far from about the Mexicans, okay? Mexicans have very little to do with it. Illegals in general, disenfranchising people from a lower income or a lower education status to make them part of a permanent subclass. Yes, that is what has occurred. Okay. Well, we're not going to go through all that part. This is about the opportunities. We've discussed this other stuff before. Okay. But those of you who are in the trade or in a trade, not necessarily a union, look and see what training is going to be available. Apply and see if there is state or federal money that's going to be available for you to take that next step up, because it is going to be available. If it is not available now, it will be available soon. The president was hoping that the United States manufacturing industries and the big car dealers and everything would rise to the occasion. They are not doing so. They like things the way they are because they are complacent, because they do not give a shit about you or I. Okay? You have to go out and make this reality your own. So what we can look at is, look out there and see what these careers are that are going to be valuable. I've already given you a rough idea of which ones there are. Okay? It's up to you to go out and make that happen. What's going to happen if you don't understand what I'm saying is there becomes a surplus of jobs. Here's the example. We did a video a while ago about the LA riots, right? And how they swear that those people that are there, illegals, whoever they are irreplaceable. But we have documentation that we researched from California itself that if there were 200,000 illegals, and this is illegals, not illegals working, there are 200,000 illegals that they were aware of in just Los Angeles and the area, which I find to be a low number. Their unemployment rolls for Los Angeles County are 225 or 230,000. So that means we have enough people to fill all the jobs that they did. And let me tell you this, and this is going to sound whatever, stereotypical or whatever. You look at the jobs that we're talking about. They're talking about landscape. They're talking about washing dishes and sometimes cooking, right? Culinary jobs. All those kind of things. You're trying to tell me that nobody in the United States can do that? And they'll say, oh, yeah, but Juan shows up all the time. Yeah, Juan has no safety net. The United States people will say, well, I get food stamps, I get welfare, I have Section 8, this and that and the other thing. That shit is going away. if you guys don't understand that it's going away, especially if you don't have children, that it's going away, you're out of your minds. Go over to our site, southfloridaconservative.com. Look at the sister article to this, and we'll explain examples. These are not hard and fast with the numbers, examples of how this is probably going to play out, where you'll be able to still keep a certain amount of welfare subsidy while you are training. But the day you stop training is the day you stop getting everything. Same with some of these people with children. You know what? Because when I worked in another city, our welfare system, and we also had city welfare at the same time, the girls didn't have to go to work. They had daycare for their kids, right? And WIC and all this other stuff, but they didn't have to go look for work. So I'm saying, well, why do you get childcare if you don't have to go look for work? I could see giving you childcare if you're out looking for a job every day, but not for you to sit around the house. And they were getting it where it was even extended times. So some of these kids, these little kids, were walking to the place themselves, and then maybe you roll in there at 5 o'clock at night, right? Because that way they were getting fed breakfast and they were getting fed lunch and probably a dinner. And I'm thinking, how horrible of a parent, and this doesn't matter where you are, we had it in Tennessee too. How horrible of a parent are you that you aren't going to, and everyone's going to tell you, oh, they don't have the money, she's out doing what? Bullshit. There are people that are out trying to make ends meet. I understand that. I would say the gross cross section of the whole thing, regardless of color, is not going to show that. You're going to see a lot of chemical abuse, substance abuses, however you want to say it. Are there going to be mental issues? Sure, let's deal with that. We've got to get that out of the mix. The socialists use those people in these numbers to make it where we throw away useful people because of the useless ones. And honestly, if you are crippled with a mental illness or a physical infirmity, this, that, and the other thing, and when it comes to the grand scheme of things, building a building, right? Picking up 70 cinder blocks and moving them somewhere, you're kind of useless. All right. And I know I'm going to hear about it, but it's true. It's true. Okay. Now, if we had a job where you can use your mind, great. Go do that. And there are plenty of jobs in the blue collar world, rudimentary bookkeeping, keeping the charts of all the people who aren't doing what they're supposed to do. There are lots of jobs out there that you can do. We had a program at City of Philadelphia that was called MOCS, M-O-C-S. I always put this in here because I was very impressed with the women who worked there, Mrs. King and all of them. And the fact of the matter is they were not city workers, okay? They weren't there under civil service. They served at the will of the mayor. And these ladies were not getting paid great because we weren't getting paid great. And they had to get up every day and get themselves together and come downtown and come into the office and work and deal with these welfare queens who would treat them horribly. And it was, it was not a racist situation because the majority of people in the office were Black dealing with people who were Black. Okay. It's not like down here in Florida where you have to have Spanish speakers and we didn't go through all that shit, right? They were not getting paid a huge amount over what the maximum welfare case was, but they knew that it was wrong for them to do that shit when they want to be out there and have the prestige. There is a prestige to having a job. Don't let anybody tell you that there's not. I was in manual labor for years. And my guys, that we would drop them off. You want to drop it off at the house? Now we're going to go get the checks cashed, blah, 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 blah. They kept all their gear because they wanted people to know that they had a job, and the girls, you know how it works. Because at that point, not everybody wanted to be involved in drug dealers, right? Because you get murdered, right? You get fucking shot. So anyway, I don't want to digress. The fact of the matter, inner city people, if you're city council person, whoever else is telling you the whites are racist and blah, 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 is not offering you at this fucking moment, opportunities to learn a trade or a vocation. You can be a tool and die maker. It's important. You can do anything that you want that you have not seen done in the United States recently, because that's what he's bringing back. clothing industries, all these things. Why don't you, if you're a girl and you're interested in fashion, or if you're a guy and you're interested in fashion, why don't you learn how to make clothes, right? If you think fashion is the way, making a t-shirt with a cute design does not make you a fashion designer. It makes you a guy who put a design on a shirt. I put designs on shirt. I'm not a fashion designer, right? Designing your own clothes. Be like a Willie Smith type, right? Decent looking clothing for a lower pocketbook. Very nice thing. You're going to start seeing it because the jobs that are going to come out are going to be above minimum wage, and they're going to go up and up. They're not going to go through the ceiling. But what usually happens in this case is if you play the game, you do what you're supposed to do and don't act like an asshole, you'll get promoted. Or you go out on your own and you open your own company, and then you don't have to worry about being promoted. The world's your oyster. You work when you want to work. You don't work when you don't want to work. And you don't have to rely on your girlfriend's OnlyFans page to get money into you. And you're like, I'm a pimp. It's bullshit. Okay. And this is going to be it, guys. This is the last chance. The rest of this 4-year term is going to see some great changes. Look at the stock. They say the stock market. Why aren't you investing if you have a couple dollars? I had very little money. I had like $3,000. I did the research. I put it in. I'm ahead of the day because I read what the president wanted to do. And I was wrong on one of them. It just was the wrong company, but the theme was there. And this is it. We're gearing up for basically war. It's a war against socialism first and foremost in the country, and the people who are destroying all these lives in the name of it so that they can stay on top of the game. And then, of course, we have our old friends, the Chinese, and some other people out there to deal with. But do we really want to get into a shooting war with them? No. We need to be able to outmaneuver them via economic power. And we can. They own nothing. The Chinese government produces things from materials that are brought into China. They subsidize the fuel cost. They subsidize the electric cost. They subsidize everything to bring the prices down to shatter the industrial capacities of its partner states, the EU, the United States, places in South America. It's there to dominate because they figure at the end of the day, when the bill comes due, we will own the planet. We will not have to pay anybody. If you're not thinking along those lines, you better start thinking along those lines. So that's all I have for you for now. Any questions and comments, as we always say, you can get them into us. There's been some people that asked a few things. We actually did a video, I think it was a video or a Substack or something based on some idea that somebody had. And, we're just rolling along. We're not going to sit there. We don't want to clickbait. We're not Tucker Carlson, obviously. So ugh, I don't know why I brought that asshole up. But anyway, that's all we have. And talk to you later on. Have a nice weekend. Goodbye.